Hello, and welcome to The Razor's Edge. This is Hutch, and in this interview I catch up with Robert Garven, drummer with legendary Californian classic metal outfit Cirith Ungol. We catch up on the impact of the pandemic on a band in the later years of their career, the reaction to their fantastic 2020 record Forever Black, and the new EP Half Past Human. We had a few technical gremlins at the start of our interview, which cut off our introductions, and the interview starts with Robert telling me how things are at the moment in Ventura, California.
I'm still being kind of careful because I'm, older. Half the guys in the band are old. We don't want to get sick and die.
Yeah, of course. So over here now we're able to kind of go out to restaurants and to have a meal and to go to the cinema again, but there's still no live music, and I'm assuming it's the same with you, is it?
Yeah. That's the truth. It's like I said, it's sort of opened up again, but, we're still waiting. So many times they've reopened and then they've had to reshut because people are doing crazy stuff. I'm thinking the vaccine's going to be the way out of this. So hoping everyone can get a vaccine. And I hope if we have any extras left over, we should share them with everyone for sure. So,
yeah. And what was it actually like for you during the year when when it actually kicked off? Because over here we've had, certainly where I live, we've had I think 3 actual lockdowns where we haven't been able to do much at all.
Yeah, it was a similar thing right here. I live between 2 hospitals, and I could throw a rock in my backyard over the fence and hit a refrigerated semi truck where they were putting dead bodies in. So, we don't live in a large area, but,
yeah,
people, every day, like 20, 30 to 50 people were dying every day. So, just kind of scary, so we were all kind of separated. We haven't, the band hasn't really got together recently, but, of course, we worked on the last half of the year. We were working on Half Past Human, so we got together, knocked that out. So we're just, we're trying to do what we can do and move forward as best we can.
Absolutely. And were the rest of the band okay? Did they all come through it unscathed?
Yeah, pretty much so. I'm not supposed to talk about politics, religion, and this kind of like verges into that. One of our members got it and got over it, but he's vaccinated now. And then the rest of us are all vaccinated. So we can't wait to get back and start doing stuff again. Matter of fact, we're working on some new material. So we're still writing and practicing and playing. We have some shows booked, but once again, I don't want to say nothing about it because last time all our shows were booked got canceled. So, but we're getting ready for that. Hopefully, the fall of this year we'll be playing again. At least that's
brilliant. Well, positive news, and hopefully it will continue. So last time we spoke, Forever Black was literally just about to be released. I think we were about a fortnight maybe ahead of its actual release date. And it certainly went down well. It featured in a lot of end-of-year lists with a lot of sites and magazines. Given everything that happened, I'm assuming that you and the rest of the band were actually quite happy with how it turned out in the end.
Yeah, someone asked me that the other day. They said, did the pandemic destroy it? And I think actually more people got to stay at home and maybe listen to music more.
Yeah.
So that was a good thing. Obviously, we were really pumped up. And I got to get this on my chest right now. We were an older band. We got back together. We hadn't played for years, and it took us a while to kind of get back in the swing of things. But, by the time we'd released Forever Black, we were just itching to get out and play because we'd never been tight or ready to go. And then the whole pandemic thing kind of threw a big old bucket of water. I remember I always seen they pour ice buckets of water on guys sometimes on TV, and I'm not really sure why they do that, but that's kind of what it felt like to us.
Yeah.
We'd never been more prepared. And so now I guess a joke was we took, a 25 year break, so this is just another 2-year break. So hopefully we'll be able to come back and knock that out. But yeah, no, we were really surprised that so many people, put the album on their top 10 list with, a handful of guys picking it the best album of the year. There's a website in Italy that picked us number one over, bands we grew up, listening to: AC/DC, Deep Purple, Ozzy, just crazy stuff. So, that blew us away, to be honest. And, we knew it was a strong album, but to get other people to agree with us, that's something that we haven't really seen in our past history. 30 years after you put an album out, people love it and worship it, but like to put out music and people actually get drawn to it right away was a new experience for us. And it was gratifying because, like I said, we thought the album was pretty good and we were happy with it. So to find everyone else liked it too really made us happy.
Yeah, I think that must have been really, really rewarding. And one of the things that I noticed as the year went on was that people that I had told about it were listening to it and coming back and saying, hey, I didn't know about this band. And then I noticed on your Facebook site and various other sites that people were actually discovering the band for the first time through Forever Black, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's what our goal is. There's so many people out there that like heavy metal that probably never heard of us. We're hoping that, we can get a few more converts before the end.
Yeah. I think that's brilliant, because with all the music that was available or is available at the moment, to even get people to listen to it, I suppose the streaming sites at least might get a track out there or something, but for people to actually listen to albums is quite hard work. So I think you did really well.
Well, thank you. My joke is, we could fill Wembley Stadium, but it would have to be like one person from every different city.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think I spoke to a couple of people that I'd got in touch with or made friends with in the last couple of years who were actually fans of the band, who were extremely pleased that you were back. So I think there is a groundswell of support for you, which is really heartwarming and which is really good.
Well, we're kind of like the elder statesmen of metal now, so we're nearing the final chapter in the band's life. Yeah. And so the goal is to try to use this last 15 minutes of fame to try to put out as much material as we can and share our music with, those that want to listen. And I think that's our goal. And that's, we've since we got back together, I thought, with Jarvis's help for sure, he got the band back together and has been managing us and just doing that flawlessly. Hopefully, we have another small little chapter before we fade off to the left.
Fingers crossed. I mean, if 2020 taught us anything, it's that the old school are not ready to go out quietly yet. If you think about the bands that you mentioned who all put out absolutely brilliant albums. Yeah,
that's why the response to Forever Black was so exhilarating for us, is to see so many people, kind of put us in the same sentence as bands that we grew up, worshiping and admiring. So, and this is the truth, our band, we're a band of other fans, we're not rock stars, we're regular people. So, to be pushed up there with other people that are rock stars is kind of an unusual feeling for us, but it's I think after being together for so long and never achieving any commercial success, at least in this last chapter, of the band, I think it's overwhelming, but it's also, I think some of it, maybe, we were hoping that would happen. So
yeah. I think it's well deserved. So let's have a chat about the new EP, which I've been lucky enough to listen to, and it's a fabulous reminder that you're still around. But these are songs that are drawn from the archives, I think, if I'm right. So tell me a little bit about how you managed to get these songs and where you got them from and how you chose these four.
Yeah, well, after Forever Black, the band, we're all kind of old timers, right? So let's do another album, everyone, let's knock out another album. But Jarvis had an idea. Hey, the pandemic's on. Why don't we put out a 4-song EP? And we'd recorded Brutish Manchild for a Decibel flexi disc, which came out.
Yeah.
During the same Forever Black thing, we'd started working on, the basic tracks for Half Past Human. And to be honest, I can't really remember why we did that other than, we just had some more time in the studio and we figured, hey, let's throw down, one of our old songs, just basic tracks and see what comes of it, right? And then so Jarvis had this idea for an EP, and definitely a lot of our fans had been clamoring for a bunch of our old material, which for us, we're still a little bit confused about because, we're hoping everyone's saying, hey, we want to hear some new stuff from you, and everyone wants to hear a bunch of old stuff. And the band likes our old material, but to us, that's something, that was kind of like past history,
Yeah.
Digging it out of the archives wasn't hard, but we decided if we were going to do that, we wanted to give it a proper send-off. And so the goal was, hey, if we're going to do this, we got to make these songs, we got to dial it up to 11, right? And, make them heavier. And I think what happened worked. And I think we were pretty happy with the way that came out, too. Now, some of our longtime fans really didn't like Forever Black, and I'm not sure why that was. So our hope was, by digging out these older songs, maybe some of our original fans, maybe they'd hear something in this that they missed in Forever Black.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm assuming that you have other stuff in the archive that you could do the same for, or have you exhausted it now?
Yeah, there's a there's a lot of stuff there. The majority of good stuff, when the band was broke up, Metal Blade in Europe put out Servants of Chaos.
Yeah.
That had a bunch of garage tapes to, early demos on there.
Yeah.
And then Jar recently released on his Iron Grip label the Orange tape, which was a bunch of our more primitive stuff that, the first demo that we kind of made to send out to record companies and stuff. So, that's most of the good stuff. I'm not going to lie to you, there's 20 other songs that we could do, but I want to speak to our fans really frankly now. You want to hear our new material, after we're gone, dead and buried, you can dig back up all this old stuff and listen to it. But I think once again, we have some really good ideas for some new material. And I think if people like Forever Black, the goal is to put out another album even heavier than that. So what we wanted to do with this EP was try to satiate some of the fans that wanted to hear some of the older stuff.
Okay.
But it's not our goal just to do, and I joke with someone, we could put out 4 whole albums of just old stuff, but I'm not sure that's what my joke is. Did you want to see Picasso's first painting when he was 4 years old? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really fair point. And for you as artists, obviously that's stuff that you have created a while ago. So you want to be creating new music because at the end of the day, as much as it's for the fans, it's also for you as a band.
Yeah, and you must have heard on Forever Black, we kind of dug back through some of our older kind of music imagery, lyric-wise too, like with Legions Arise, and Join the Legion. But, we pulled some little things out, just to throw in some of our music to kind of give nods back to some of our older material. So, we're going to continue to do that as we go along, partly because that's who we are, my new joke is, back when we first got together, a couple of our fans called us up and they called us Cirith Ungol, right? And so recently I did an interview and the interviewer kept saying Cirith Ungol. So we were cracking up in the band, and that's how I'm not sure that's like the proper definition, but that's what I'm going with, Cirith Ungol. But anyway, the plan was, to make those songs heavier, and they were. Now, you asked another question I probably didn't answer correctly, but when we were looking through those songs, we're trying to find some common denominator.
Yeah.
Greg wrote all those songs originally, the lyrics and the original music to those. And he had this kind of beast theme going on with Half Past Human, Brutish Manchild, and Route 666. And so obviously Shelob's Lair is about, the giant spider monster that lives in the Tower of Cirith Ungol, or Cirith Ungol in the Lord of the Rings. And so that's kind of like a monster image too. And what was so cool is, we'd been using all of Michael Whalen's Elric fantastic paintings for our covers, which have just been,
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, the cream of the crop when it comes to album covers. And I told people before, you may not like our band, but we have the best album covers that ever came out. I'm going to stand by that. Mm-hmm. So anyway, one of the ones, there's only a couple left. One of the ones that was left, We're the White Wolf. We picked that as because it shows Elric and he's stabbing with, his Blackblade Stormbringer into this kind of half beast warrior guy. And so it kind of like ties all the songs together, even with the album cover. And so we were kind of happy about that too. So it had kind of like a whole, if not a theme, at least it had this beast type imagery, weaving between the songs and the art.
That makes perfect sense to someone that has all of those books and was obsessed with them when I was 12, 13, 14, listening to the early stuff. So that's really helpful to clarify.
Yeah, and Michael Whalen has been unbelievable. If you look at high resolution image of the new EP, and you pull up those old books, they really didn't do his paintings justice. I mean, even though they were great at the time, the amount of detail and stuff that's in that painting, I've never. The only painting I got to see in person was actually two of his. I saw Stormbringer, and then he brought to my house when he was at a Comic-Con convention in Los Angeles, one he did call Elric Demon Slayer.
Okay.
And that was never on one of the Michael Moorcock books.
No.
He put it out like a private limited edition one on his own, but that was never on any of the original Daw books things. So that's the only two I've seen. But, even along with the image that he did, the small study for Forever Black, with the modern technology to actually get these high resolution images, I just saw the album cover for the first time and I was just blown away. And I told some of the band members, I said, man, I think this might be our best album cover. It's just the color is just so amazing. The band also I got to design the layout for the first 3 albums, and I asked if I could do this one, and they reluctantly agreed probably. But I was really happy with the work I did on that. I did the front and back album cover and the poster, just setting it up the way I thought it should be. So I'm proud of that, and I'm hoping some of our fans will like that. Maybe I'll get to do it again.
That would be great. That would be good. Well, I've got mine on order, so I'm looking forward to end of next week when it arrives. That'll be really good.
Yeah, I got some advanced copies for the band.
Yeah.
It came in a box, and I told them, it's late at night, and they're sitting on our porch, and I brought them in. I told my wife, I'm going to open these in the morning. And within 5 minutes, I was already cutting the thing up. Just had to, and there's something about, albums as opposed to CDs or, digital downloads or whatever, slicing open the plastic and, pulling out smelling the actual vinyl and the printing on the cover and stuff. I mean, there's something very sensual about being able to hold something, 12 inches in your hand, not phallic, of course. I mean, but the album, you're holding something and, it's just kind of like a visual delight, and then you throw it on the turntable and of course, Metal Blades outdone himself again with all the, the colored vinyl. And, it's so amazing, for us when we put out an album in the past, all we expected was just, a black album to have 4 or 5 different colors is just, it's like I said, it blows us away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the interesting thing these days with vinyl is you don't get just the first day issue on black. You get various other colors, and if you're a collector, it must be astonishingly expensive. But it's great. If people want to do it, they can do it, and it's nice to have that kind of thing. So what about actually doing the reimagining it and actually doing the updating and recording? How did that go, and how did you get to go about it?
Well, all of the stuff, even since we got back, has been kind of based on our old the way we've been doing stuff since the very, earliest time we got together as a band. We always record, we write the new songs, the different members bring their ideas in. We put the song together. We do a kind of like a high quality demo.
Yeah.
We work from there so that when we go in the studio, we have a really good idea what we want. So we're not wasting a bunch of time. I love reading a lot of the books about some of the favorite bands of mine growing up, like whether it's Black Sabbath or other bands. There's two things. There's a band like Budgie, a band I love, where they were in doing one of their albums and they're so short a time. The guys in the band were out in the van driving away while Burke Shelley was actually doing like the final mix down in the studio, and the guys were honking and, hurry up, get out here, right? Yeah. So there's that. And then there's, I've read some stories about Black Sabbath, like doing some of their later albums where they're in the studio for like, 3 weeks at a time and never got anything down that they liked, right? So, we've never been able to have that big a budget. So what we try to do is go in there prepared. And, it doesn't always work exactly the way we expected. And sometimes we make some changes, but it usually comes out pretty much the way it did. We tried not to change much of the structure of these songs. A few of the little lyrics we tweaked to bring them in with kind of our modern day Cirith Ungol vision. But, we just kind of went in there and had some fun. Someone said, how hard was it to dig these out and play them? And the true story is, me, Greg, and Tim, these were songs that we played so many times over and over. I think the first time we played them, at least we kind of stumbled through it without even not remembering any part of it. But that's another thing I want to give a shout out to Jarvis, our manager, the guy got us back together, and bass player, and Jimmy, the guitarist, had joined the band right before our fourth album, Paradise Lost. Yeah. They really embraced these songs, which, weren't part of their history, but they kind of, adopted them as kind of like their own and really brought in all sorts of really cool kind of dynamics of their own to actually just pump them up and make them cooler. We told Jarvis to go crazy on the bass, which he did. And Jimmy, on Half Past Human, he wrote this like little signature melody riff at the beginning of the song, which for me actually changed the actual whole vision of that song to me forever. I mean, I always loved that song, but it wasn't my favorite. And after Jimmy wrote this part at the very beginning, it just totally blew me away so much. Now it's on one of my favorite song lists for the band. So they just added so much texture and their own kind of like vision to that, which really, I think, brought these songs up another level. And that's why we're so happy. First off, we're going to record a few old songs. And then when we're done, we listen to it back like, wow, that came out, we're happy with that.
Sure. And the sound on it is massive. Your drum sound is huge. So, Armand Anthony's obviously done a fabulous job with the production and stuff for you.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I do have a set of pretty cool DW, a big drum company. They're just a few minutes from my house. They built me a set of oak drums, and they painted them. I'm a big Ferrari fan, so I'm like Nick Mason. I'm a big Ferrari fan, so they painted them Ferrari red for me. And but yeah, no, they just sound insane. And I'm a Paiste cymbal artist, so I have 17 different cymbals, and I'm glad you said that, because not too many people mention my drumming, either the drum sounds or the drums, but I thought they did come out good. What we were looking for is Forever Black came out fantastic, and we were just totally happy with it, but there was still a little bit of a low end on there that some of us thought was missing, so we tried to make sure that was there. And you can always crank that up on your stereo at home or however you listen to your music, but it's nice to have that full deep bass bottom in there, and I think that Armand really achieved that on this mix.
Yeah, I think so. I think absolutely. And were there any actual challenges in actually getting to the studio or stuff to do the recording, or were you all okay to do it, or did you have to go in bit by bit?
No, we did it just like normal. We were wearing masks, or at least most of us were wearing masks most of the time. We're trying to go by what's going on. Plus, we're all trying to, the last thing we wanted to do was someone become, a victim of our own doom rock, right? So, yeah. So, we just went in and recorded it like normal. we always do the basic tracks first, the bass guitar and drums, and then, we go in and start laying down, the vocals and lead guitars, and then we go in and do other weird stuff. There were some cool things on Half Past Human, besides the part that Jimmy wrote there at the beginning, which next time you listen to it, I want you to seriously zone that out, because that was just something. And Jimmy has this real ability to do that. He has this ability to take a song melody and pull another melody out of his brain that's totally has nothing to do with the actual song, but it just fits perfectly on top of there. We call them his signature riffs, because they're kind of like he's signing like his own little personal statement on top of that. Yeah. But the part there at the beginning of Half Past Human is just amazing. But then Greg had this stomp box, which kind of was like a mellotron or something. Greg's a collector of old guitars and foot pedals and stuff, and he had this thing that kind of sounded like monks chanting. And back in the day, we'd had done some kind of like chanting background vocals on Half Past Human, and he was playing with that on the guitar, and he used it on there, and it came out really, really good. We're always doing a mix down, we're always arguing, I'm going, hey, turn that up, the chanting up. And I was, oh no, that's too loud, But I think the cool thing about our band, a lot of times we have disagreements, like, when we're recording or during the mix down, but then when the album's done, the best parts of the album, even if people have disagreed with them, they end up thinking it was their idea. And I think that goes to show, everyone had, we're kind of like all equal masters on how the songs are created and recorded. Yeah. And I think we're sharing, the actual authorship and the blame,
So I'm gonna have to, when we finish, I'll have to go and listen to Half Past Human again and put headphones on and spend some time listening to all those little intricacies, because I'm intrigued now.
No, that those are some epic songs, and then before Route 666, we had like a car sound on there. I think it's an old Alfa Formula One car, and that was on the original recording. We found that and dug that out.
Oh, really? Wow.
And then on Brutish Manchild, we'd done that version for decibels. So what we wanted to do, we didn't want it to be the same thing. So we kind of, we recorded some extra stuff on there and went in and mixed it differently. So we wanted it, to be something kind of fresh. And then on, I covered Brutish Manchild. I think getting back to Shelob's Lair and maybe Route 666, we tried to get the guys in the band, Greg and Jimmy, to do some dueling lead guitars, which came out really good too.
Yeah. No, I agree there.
They were kind of crazy at one point, we're going, hey, think that maybe we should dial this back a little bit. But I think we decided, let the guys just go for it. Because what we wanted to do for these old songs is, like I said, make them heavier. But I think we were having some fun with it, so we decided to kind of like, push it over the top as far as we could before someone pulls us back.
Yeah, I think you've achieved that. And Brutish Manchild obviously was released on the flexi disc for Decibel last year. So did you get a good response for that when it was first released? Were some of the old school happier?
I think during the whole pandemic, it was hard to kind of judge what really people were thinking of some of the stuff. And I think that thing, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, that maybe even came out before that, but I think I'm not sure how much reaction we did get from that. I know it was positive, but I think the plan was, just to put it on the new EP and kind of give it a different feeling, so that, people wouldn't feel like, they're cheated by something that we just re-released. I mean, that hope.
Yeah, that's cool. You talked a little bit earlier on about the number of live shows that you lost, and the one that obviously we were talking about a little bit last year was the headline set at Keep It True, and of course that's gone again this year, but you're back on the bill for next year. Have you kept in touch with Ollie and everything? Has he been in touch to keep you ticking over on what's happening?
Well, yes, of course. But that 2-night thing will never come back again, and no. that's kind of our dilemma. We were going to be able to play Forever Black in its entirety. And, moving forward, any show we play, we're playing an hour and a half. The most we're going to be able to do is, 3 or 4 songs off each album at the most. And so, it gets back to us trying to kind of decide amongst ourselves, which song should we play? What are the most relevant? What do people want to hear? That kind of stuff. So, but, if it was up to us, we'd be like, this would be like the 1970s. We'd go out and play the whole album, just because, hey, this is our new album. We want you to hear it. But I think a lot of people that haven't seen us ever before, that would be a disservice to them. And I know because I've seen bands recently. I saw Scorpions play a few years ago. And of course, my favorite Scorpions were maybe their first 3 or 4 albums, right? Yeah. And they did a medley, which maybe had every one of my favorite songs in like 1 3-minute song.
Yeah, and they had stuff like Speedies coming in it and things like that, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just, to me, I was very disappointed. I understood, they wanted to play a lot of their new material, but as a longtime fan, I wanted to hear, at least a few of those songs, like In Trance or something. And so I take that with me, and I think the band does too. We discuss this amongst ourselves. It's constantly a discussion going on what we should be doing or what we are doing. We don't want to do that. We don't. Let's say if someone came, and their favorite song is Frost and Fire, and we leave that off the list or something, they're going to go home disappointed. So we're going to try to play, all the greatest hits. It's good and bad news. The good news is we've had so many albums out that have so many strong songs on there. We're torn between what to play. The bad news is, at some point we're going to have to start cutting songs off our set list or ones that would have been, guaranteed to be on there like 2-4 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. That is obviously the challenge of a festival set, and of course, as you say, you're never going to get that opportunity again. But you're still on the bill, and the lineup looks strong if it goes ahead next year. There's some very good bands on it again.
Yeah, no, we're very excited, and Oliver once again puts on the greatest show, especially the traditional heavy metal kind of stuff like we do. So we're really looking forward to it. But, not only that, there's some other festivals, we've been booked to play, going to some different countries that we hadn't been to before. And I hope we can come back to England for sure. There's some stuff, I never got to meet the Queen, what
Yeah, sure. So where else have you got? Are these all festivals for next year?
Yeah, no, she was very upset about that too.
I'm sure she was. Sorry, Robert, are all the festivals booked for next year? You haven't got any booked for this year, I assume?
Well, like I said, there's some stuff booked for this year, but it's later on in the year.
Yeah,
really, it's not 100% confirmed. But we're going to try to do what we can do. And, the goal is to get out in front of as many people as possible. And so sometimes that, we got to play at a small club in London, which was fantastic. But I think, if we're only going to play once or twice in a certain area before we exit stage left, want to try to play to as many people as possible. That's not a selfish thing. It's more like us being unselfish. It's maybe only 100 or 200 people can get in a small club. But if we can play a larger festival where a couple of thousand people can see us that want to, that's the goal if we can do it.
Yeah. I think that's perfectly reasonable. Now, fingers crossed that you'll be able to do that, because I think over here we have the big metal festival in the summer, which is still on at the moment, Bloodstock. I think we've only got one American band left on the bill now, and most of the European bands have dropped off for this year. So obviously it's virtually all UK bands, so it'll be interesting to see if that does go ahead, how that pans out, and if we can get all you guys back over for next year.
And of course, I've always my dream is to play Royal Albert Hall. I know that's not going to happen, but it's still on my list. So
well, you need to have something on the list. It'd be terrible to have an empty list, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I have a couple of drummer friends and a drummer friend in a country western band. They actually played there, and I think the Queen might have gone to go see them or something, or maybe Prince Charles or something. And I was very jealous. But
Oh, I
anyway,
bet that's gutting for you.
Yeah, hope springs eternal, So.
Indeed. So just to wrap up, there's an interesting thing that I was listening to the other day. I was reviewing a copy of the latest Metal Massacre compilation that Metal Blade have put out, which is Metal Massacre number 15. And then when I was reviewing it, I remembered that you guys were on volume 1 with a certain band called Metallica back in 1982, and I think you had Death of the Sun on there, which then came out on King of the Dead.
Yeah, I think the irony is I think our song was maybe one of the faster ones on the album.
Yeah.
We ended up staying kind of like the traditional heavy metal, while a lot of the other bands, at the time decided to kind of go down the speed metal kind of route.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was amazing. Brian was one of our very first friends, and to this day, he's been, along with Michael Whalen, I would say those are two of the guys. Randy Jackson, the guy that helped fund our first album. My parents did this. They loaned me the money to put out King of the Dead, the original recording. But Brian has been there from the beginning. And how that all came about is he was working at a record store. We'd created Frosted Fire, and we were trying to shop it around to record companies. And he turned us on to an exporter in the Los Angeles area, Green World, which actually licensed a record, started selling it overseas. And that's kind of how we got the ball started. And, while we were talking, he was going, we were going, hey, our dream is to be rock stars. And he goes, his dream is he wants to start his own record label. And he goes, I'm going to put out a compilation album. Would you guys write a song or record a song for it? And we said, sure. And so that's how that all started. And along with Frost and Fire, which I think Frost and Fire, the anniversary dates, if you can believe it's like Halloween of this year, 40 years.
Gosh, yeah.
Metal Massacre came out, I think, that same year in 1981. So it's an amazing series of events that passed. But the thing with Brian is he's always stood by, being able to put out the heavy metal bands, and he's always been there. And I think sometimes the cream rises to the top. And I think, Metal Blade Records has really done such a service to all the people that love metal over the years, not only promoting new bands, but older bands like ourselves. And it's really been remarkable how we've been treated by them with such dignity and respect. And I always hated record companies. I mean, that's like the first 20 years I was in a band, it was all like, they're out to destroy you. And I feel since we got back together, I feel like a kinship with them, almost like we're family. And every project we've done with them has just come out so perfect, and not only the execution, but all the promotion and everything. So I'm very proud. I speak for the whole band. They're proud that we're on Metal Blade Records on this new EP and Forever Black, and stretching back through time. Yeah.
And I don't know if you've read Brian's book about the story of Metal Blade. I finished it a few weeks ago, and it's an interesting story for someone on this side of the water to hear how he was living in his mum's room and trying to finance all the early stuff, because a lot of people won't actually know that backstory of those early days in the early 80s and stuff, when he was pestering Budgie and Michael Schenker and people like that before it all happened. So it's great that he comes across as a nice guy in the book, but obviously it's nice to speak to someone who knows him and can confirm that.
No, he's a total gentleman. We were all living in our mother's house back in the day. That's what happened to our band. We got thrown out of everyone's practice place, so my parents let us take over my sister, who recently got married, bedroom. And that's where we recorded the Orange Tape, and that's where we wrote all these songs that are on this EP. And, I'm just amazed because I live in the same town, and if I brought our band into like one of my little bedrooms and we played before the first song was over, we'd probably be in handcuffs. So.
Yeah. So just to wrap up, Rob, you talked about you've been writing new material and stuff. Is it too early to ask when we're likely to see another album, or have you got a kind of plan mapped out?
Well, there's a plan, and I think the plan's getting, like everything else, is getting moved a little bit because of the circumstances. but the plan is to do another full length album. We've talked in the band, hey, this might be our last album, and the joke is, what if we put out 6 more? We're like, end up being like Blue Oyster Cult or something. We have like,
yeah.
And then we also joke about too, because, a lot of the time between our first albums wasn't necessitated by, the songwriting or the recording. It was all by, space between Frost and Fire and King of the Dead was we had to raise the money to record the album and then find someone to put it out.
Yeah.
Between, King of the Dead and One Foot in Hell and all that stuff, was one thing. Our recording studio was getting rebuilt and it took a lot longer than it was supposed to. Other times we couldn't find anyone that wanted to put it out, what have you. And so we knocked out Forever Black, Witch's Game and this EP in like a short time.
Yeah.
And so some of us were joking. We want to be like Grand Funk Railroad back in the early days. We're going to put out an album every 6 months, but yeah, no, the plan is, that's, and like I said, at our kind of age of like the elder statesmen of metal, especially having lost so many people in our same age group, Eddie Van Halen just died recently. I mean, not a week goes by when someone that we either grew up with or, we played with is gone. So, I mean, we need to use our time wisely. That's what the plan is. But if we do another album, the goal is to make it really heavy. And I think that's what we did with Forever Black. And I think, we have some really strong material ready to go. I mean, I would say this next album would be better than the last album. But once again, everyone's going to have to, I'm going to let the listeners judge that. But I would say, no, there's no definite timeline. But we definitely want to get that out for the next pandemic hit. So.
Yeah, sure. Well, I look forward to more new material. I'm happy to listen to anything that you guys put out, and I think I'll end on the same note that I said a year ago, which is ironic, which is I really hope to be able to see you guys live in the not too distant future, because that's what we said last year, and of course things haven't quite worked out that way, but fingers crossed we're moving in the right direction and we'll be able to catch up maybe in under a year's time. Who knows?
Yeah, and Paul, I would like to thank you once again for your not only interest but your support of our old band Cirith Ungol.
Cirith Ungol, as I'm going to call him from now on.
Yeah, there you go. But I really appreciate that. Because that's the thing is like I think the biggest problem of our band was being able to get out there, and like you mentioned, whether it's a YouTube Metal Blade site or Facebook or whatever, every day there's going to be a guy coming on here saying I never heard of these guys, and the goal is to try to like join the Legion or Legions Arise to try to mass these group of heavy aficionados to at least share our music with them. We're not for everyone, but we're definitely. We have a unique style of heavy metal. It's kind of has the imagery of sword and sorcery and doom all woven together, with the imagery of Michael Whalen laid on top. So that's our goal, is to try to get this out and at least share it with people. Let them judge where we are going to be in the heavy metal history books, but at least get that available so that people can listen to the music and see what they think.
Indeed, and that's a great aim, and I think you're well on the way. Rob, it's been great to catch up again, and hopefully we'll speak again within the next year or whatever. And as I said, fingers crossed, you'll be smashing those drums and I'll be standing there with a beer enjoying myself.
I look forward to it, Paul. Thank you so much, and once again to all your listeners, tell them cheers from Cirith Ungol, and we can't wait to get back and say hello to everyone.
Great. You too. You look after yourself, stay safe, and say thanks to all the band, and we'll catch up again. Cheers, Rob.
I'm sending 5 more days of sunshine your way.
I'll hold you to that.
From sunny California.
Lovely. Take care, my friend.
Okay, Paul.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you keep up to date with future episodes by subscribing to our channels. For more information on this podcast, or for all the latest music news, reviews, interviews and more, head over to our website. www.therazorsedge.rocks.